Okay, John, we are back for another 12 Days of Teardowns Spotlight session. And today we're going to take a look at Cometeer.com. And I don't know a whole lot about this brand, except for I've been seeing it everywhere on Twitter. A lot of the folks who are in the direct-to-consumer e-commerce space are big fans of this brand. I've heard it called like the best coffee ever and things like that. And so I don't know if it's just this new upstart brand that's got a lot of momentum early. And we saw what happened to Clubhouse in the social media world, how that kind of flared out quickly. So I'm hoping that's not the case here with Cometeer, but you know what? It was in my face. It's in my algorithm. It's in my feed. So I want to take a look at it today and see what they're doing so well to get all this attention and attract all of this business. So I've got the site fired up. Looks like we've got an initial pop-up here that was triggered by time-based operation. So what's your reaction to that?
Not really giving me much to go on right now. I'm not that interested in signing up for something I don't really know a whole lot about. And since it is a different product, meaning there's probably some education that needs to happen here, I'm not on board with this pop-up at this point. I would bake this into the page, and then maybe as people get further down the journey, have a pop-up. But doing it now based on time or exit intent or anything when you have a product that is going to require some education and retraining of how people consume, this is not a good play. I would think that the messaging could be changed if you really want to do this around what makes you different and learn more about the process. Like, hey, sign up to learn how we invented this and why we're better. Those are things that maybe you might catch people's attention a little more and give them some value.
Yeah. It's worth noting as we record these, we're in the heat of the holiday season. So there might be some steps being taken to maximize the audience growth, the list growth, the sales. Right now, this is kind of the Super Bowl for e-commerce. So, maybe this site doesn't typically have a 10-second pop-up like this, and they're just trying to, maximize the value of the time of year. But even if we set that aside, this isn't the most compelling offer. Like, keep up with Cometeer, the CTA of join list. Like, I don't know anybody out there is like, I want to join another email list, right? Like, that is not the compelling incentive there. So I think there's definitely room for improvement here. And then the image is great. I mean, there's a lot going on here. So I'm like trying to figure out all the layers and everything. But the thing that jumped out at me is like in the tongs here, I kind of thought that was an Oreo. I'm like, what are they squeezing an Oreo into this K-Pod for? So like, I don't know. I know maybe that's a minor thing, but that definitely jumped out at me as a consumer. I'm like trying to figure out what they're even doing here, and I'm ignoring all this stuff on the right because I'm like, there's just so much complexity in this image that I want to make sense of it, and I'm struggling, right? So let's see. Let's close that out, and we've got a video background here, which I think is presenting the product in a fairly interesting way. I mean, you definitely look, it's coffee, right? And maybe it's hot coffee, maybe it's iced coffee. We'll find that out. But the videos capture my attention, and I'm definitely like picking up what they're putting down, right? Like I know what you're trying to sell me. I know what I'm going to see on the rest of the page. I know I'm in the right place if I clicked on an ad for coffee. So I've seen worse implementations here as a hero background.
Yeah, I love this. I like the angle of it being better for the planet. I have an espresso at home and I recycle all the pods, but I'm still like, this is a lot of waste just to make an espresso, basically. But I like what, they're saying, hey, if you can recycle it easily, that's great. Probably if I'm going to have one cup at a time, that's what's convenient here. I'm looking at some of these look frozen and I'm thinking, how is that convenient? I have to keep it in the freezer. So I can't take it with me on like a road trip. And then when I'm ready for a coffee, but I guess you have to have hot water anyways, right? So I don't know. So I guess, there's only so much you could do. It is probably more convenient than waiting to brew a pot of coffee or having to make an espresso, which can take, 5+ minutes if you really do it right. So all in all, I like this. I think I like the video behind it. Normally I'm not a huge fan of video, but I like it. What I'm not a huge fan of is the main navigation, how to melt. And our process is a little bit different. How to melt. I'm thinking, well, what am I melting? I still don't know yet. So I would almost change it to a more educational about how our product works, or just drop people right into to get started and make that the main, shop, if you will.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think like what I was going to say is that text looks awfully small to me, and I've got the full size screen. I know yours is a little bit smaller, even on top of that, because of the screen share nature of the tool that we're using. So I thought that might be tough to read, especially on smaller screens, and maybe it's larger on smaller screens. You can kind of dynamically, customize those styles based on the device size. But even on my desktop here, I'm like, I can read it. I'm not getting up there in age, but I can definitely see how some folks might have trouble with this. So, and even past that, to your point, like the process, the roasters, how to mount, like, I don't understand why any of this is important to me yet. So like, why do I care about the roasters? So clearly you're not making the coffee yourself. You're partnering with roasters, and like, we haven't even broached that topic yet. So why would I want to come in here and go straight into kind of the navigation and explore that? I'm not really sure. The other thing I'm seeing here is like, you've got corporate gifting, and then you've got give a gift. This is the gifting season, which we already called out. So maybe those aren't permanent, facets of the navigation. I think it's smart to have them, especially this time of year. But I could also see some confusion because I'm guessing they're different. I'm guessing give a gift is like send one to John. Corporate gifting is like buy one for everybody in John's company. And them being so close together could introduce a little bit of confusion. I could see somebody going down the wrong pathway unintentionally. And then again, I think it's interesting and maybe even worth testing. Like, why is the gift the primary CTA instead of get started here in the navigation? Just a lot of questionable things here. Not that they're not right, but things I would definitely want to test and either validate or swap out, right? The last thing I'll say about the navigation is I love the small branding touch here of the astronaut's helmet to go with Cometeer for the profile login. I think that's, we often talk about how brands like to put their story front and center, like learn about our story, meet our team, and it's a lot of me focused material here in the primary navigation when it should be customer focused. I think this is a way to kind of tell your brand story, show that you have personality, start to get kind of that brand vibe going on, whatever you want to communicate without getting in the way of the purchase process, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is great. Good branding, good design, clean. This is a lot of text and really complicated imagery to jump right into. I'm trying to understand, okay, I get their science, but like you're saying there, I have no idea what's going on. And then I guarantee you, if we did eye tracking on this, people aren't reading all of that text. They're either scrolling right by it or going right back up to the top to figure out how to take the next step.
Yeah, I agree. And it looks like I'm trying to read through this. Like you said, it's a lot of text. So there's some silence on my end of the microphone, but like just at a glance, I'm seeing flash frozen at peak flavor, flash frozen, like just basic redundancy. Can we cut down on that? Can this be a single photo with maybe a single sentence? And then I'm thinking about like a bulleted list with icons. It says like flash frozen, always fresh, made by the world's best roasters, whatever. I think that would be much easier to digest, is like a single headline, a single sentence to describe it, and then kind of a bulleted list with custom icons that tell you the key value propositions, right? Like travel's great, comes from the best roasters, flash frozen, so it's always peak freshness, whatever those things might be. I do think that like this could probably be cut in half in terms of total volume of content I need to consume to keep moving forward.
Yeah,
that's agree. Pretty cool photo there, though. It is flash
frozen.
Yeah,
why not just use that photo? I mean, right. I think that conveys science. It tells people it's a frozen pod, essentially. I don't know. I think that's probably the best bet.
Yeah, but I am starting to learn a little bit. So I'm guessing it comes to you frozen, right? So that's the whole how to melt it thing. And then, maybe we'll learn some more. This CTA is totally getting lost for me. I bet eye tracking, heat maps, like we're just flying right by that, right? Like nobody's going to engage with that. You've been conditioned up above to look for these yellow boxes, or maybe as a secondary, you've got this outline or this kind of like gradient feel right here. So something stylized with a button there would get more attention if you really want folks to click on that. And if you don't, then why not just eliminate it entirely? It's just one more thing on the page that they have to suss through, right? All right, so let's see.
There's just so much text on this site. I think there's a lot of education that needs to happen, but I think it could be done a lot easier in terms of how they communicate it. I like the iconography. I think they did a good job with that. Better cup, truly sustainable, take it anywhere. A better cup, I don't know if that's a great headline. I would just say, stronger, more flavorful. And then 100% curbside recyclable, and just add water.
Yeah.
Like, I think those are the three things that I would just say really quickly. Again, there's a lot of stuff on here. It seems like, they're really trying to communicate a lot, but they're over communicating, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we've barely seen the actual product yet. This is all process. And it's one of those things where I wonder if, like, maybe instead of having the background video, not that I dislike it, but having a video of the founder, just 60-second video saying, like, here's how we make our coffee, keep that all up in the hero, and then dive straight into, oh, if that sounds interesting to you, here are the different types you can choose from. Like, getting to this point more quickly, I think might be worth testing. At least it's like, can we in 60 seconds, instead of making you read all this, can you watch a 60-second video or even a 30-second video? We say all these things, but it's more engaging because it's visual and I can hear a voice and I see a human face and all their mannerisms. And then we get right into, okay, that sounds good to me. Sounds like something I'd want to try. What are my options? Boom. Here they are at a glance, right?
Yeah. This is great. And I think the design of these is great. I think it communicates, with the pods right away that there's, a selection and variety, which is important for these types of, pod-based situations. So, I don't hate this right here. I think this is a pretty good lockup. A decent panel.
Mm-hmm. Same kind of CTA thing here.
Yeah.
Just wonder if that's getting a little bit lost.
It's a miss. Definitely a miss.
Melting is the new
too long
making.
of a copy too. Again, they're very, very wordy. I like this, but I would have put next to each one. See how you roll over? It says iced latte. If you roll up, and then it says hot coffee, iced coffee. I would have put left the title there to help people really understand that you can make a variety of drinks with these. Because I'm not getting that otherwise, right? If I look at the one on the top left, without rolling over it, I wouldn't have said that was hot coffee. I would definitely never said that the bottom right one was iced coffee. I just don't get it from the illustrations. So,
yeah, iced latte, hot latte, iced coffee, hot coffee, machine compatible. Like, feels like you could show the machine, but rather than write machine compatible, you could just have this sitting in a coffee machine. It is kind of dynamically. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, like a Keurig or like just a drip coffee kind of thing, or whatever. Yeah. I do like how it has these dynamic.
I have to buy.
Yeah, oh right. I like the dynamic videos though. They're swapping out as you kind of hover over. If you stay there for a minute, it shows you exactly how to make it. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's.
I almost wonder if you could. Yeah, I almost wonder if you could just have these videos, like the still image, replace these schematics, right? Like, these are kind of fun, but it does kind of feel a little duplicative. Like, what if we just had these 4 videos and they didn't play until you hovered over them? Like, it literally
just started with that initial frame of the name. So like that hot coffee frame. Yeah. I would agree. That'd be a great test to run.
And then this would just be like, how do you take your coffee, right? And then, like, no matter what you prefer, our ice pucks are, quick and convenient, and they they maintain a great flavor. And then pick your poison or whatever, like, choose your preferred format, and you hover over it, and there it is. It shows you exactly how you would use this product. So I think, like, conceptually, the flow is making sense to me. Here's who we are. Here's our process. If you like that, here are the different flavors or options that you can have. And then here's all the different ways that you can apply that in your life and make your preferred beverage. Looks like there might be even more, or if there aren't more than these 4, then why include this button? But again, why is this a button and this is a text link? And it's like the same kind of page structure, and this button's massive. It's like the widest button I've ever seen. So, whatever. That's immaterial, but let's see. Okay. So then we get into expert reviews and press. So it looks like that was an award. I was waiting to see what the testimonial was there. So that's a little, like, the rest of these are going to be quotes, it looks like, and they look short and punchy, which is good, but I wasn't expecting to see an award mixed in there.
Yeah, I probably would do away with that only because it's not something a consumer is going to recognize. And so unless it's super recognizable, it doesn't do much for you. I'm actually just get rid of tell your grandparents, because my grandparents certainly aren't going to use frozen coffee. I'm lucky if I can get them to get off of Folgers, right? So, like, let's maybe freeze dried coffee, but they're definitely not using frozen coffee. So, I would just say frozen coffee is the future. Leave it there. The hottest gossip of the expo. What expo? And why do I care?
Like a
like
seagull to a chip.
I mean, it's a cool image, but fans of where was this? Yeah, I don't know. I would just lose this whole lockup here. This panel, I would just remove it. I don't think it's adding value. So
yeah, it kind of feels like something that let's just get V1 of the website out there, and here's what we have in our back pocket now from sending stuff out to journalists and visiting and like being an exhibitor at an expo or whatever. Probably, I'm guessing they have better testimonials now, either from other PR sources or customers. And so this might just be an area where it's like, this is fine. Like the implementation's okay, but you probably have better examples to put in here. So this is due for a refresh or an update, I would think. Yeah. Okay. And then FAQs, I know we have strong feelings about those. Buried in a lockdown here and down here at the bottom of the page.
If people have these questions, why are they burying them at the bottom of the page and in-page navigation that nobody's going to click? I guess, I don't know. I don't think you need the FAQ about what's with the name at this point. People don't really care. Is this instant or freeze dried? I think that's something you answer up above. Never instant or freeze dried. Not, or, why, if I'm a consumer and I'm asking that question, then it needs to be answered up above.
Yeah. And tie it back to a benefit, like more flavorful than instant or freeze dried coffee, right? More convenient than freeze dried coffee. Something like that. Like,
not your grandparents' instant or freeze dried. Right. Something like that. How is this sustainable? Oh, okay. First of all, I'm not reading all of that text. And second of all, just tell me it's sustainable and, or, just say it's 100% recyclable, which I got up above and they had in the video with the little blue recycling bins. So yeah, I don't know. You could do away with that. And, what happens to, this is a good question because I was wondering this too. Like if I'm going someplace, can I take it with me? 24 hours at room temperature, 3 days. Perfect. That's all I needed to know. I can take, a handful of these on a road trip and, maybe a mug of hot coffee, hot water. And when I'm ready, I just put it in. I don't know. But interesting for sure.
This feels like an area where you do enough customer research, interview actual customers, these questions come to the forefront, and then you start to think about those objections that hold somebody back from making a purchase, and you proactively address those in your H2s and your H3s here on the homepage. So instead of like this being in an FAQ, this should be somewhere up higher on the page in a lockup that says like maybe it wouldn't fit in this section. Where is it at? Where it said, take it anywhere. But maybe it's just like a little line or a phrase in here that's like, if you got water in a cup, you can have Cometeer, lasts for up to 24 hours at peak flavor, even if melted or something like that. Like there's a little bit, that's all it takes is just one injection of that somewhere in one of these higher sections. And then you don't even need it down here in the FAQ, or optionally you put it on the product detail page right there at the point of checkout. And if somebody wants to go through FAQs, that feels like a better fit, but this real estate is valuable on the homepage. And I just don't think this is the best use of the space. I
promise you a lot of people aren't asking what's with the name. Like names like this everybody's got an interesting name these days and very few people, nobody asks us, what's the good mean?
Right.
And so it's kind of, people just don't care. They don't ask. They're just like, that's a cool name. I like it. And then move on.
Usually I hear that's a great domain name and it's like, well, great. We're never going to sell it. So thank you. That means, anyway, so let's take a look at the footer here. It looks like I can dismiss this, which is kind of interesting. I mean, it's good to have, a last ditch Hail Mary CTA here. I don't know if I'm still the first, right, to try Cometeer. I guess maybe it is that new, but I'm hearing a lot of people talk about it. So it feels like, again, maybe that line needs updated, but I can just dismiss this. So before I do, anything you see here that you want to give feedback on?
Yeah, the be the first to try makes me think that they're going after the early adopters, which might be a good way to get some traction here, but it puts me off if I'm an actual coffee connoisseur, because then I'm thinking, has this been tested? Do people really like it? Is it worth me trying something totally new like this if no one else has really done it yet? So I think that's a double-edged sword of a headline. You're really playing to a small, first adopter, early adopter profile there, and as opposed to really opening it up to any consumers. So I would change that headline or at least test other options there.
Yeah, I wonder if you could even make it exclusive and say be among the first 1,000 people to try Cometeer or something like that. Like maybe you don't want to couch yourself that hard, but if you're going to take this angle, it does feel like an exclusivity play might be interesting there. Like don't just be the first, be in the first 1,000 customers or something. Like people love to hear about the awesome band before they make it big. They might love to try Cometeer before it's a household name. So just that extra little data point there could
provide some value there for being an early adopter, right? Be one of our early customers and get X, Y, or Z, right?
Yeah.
Like we'll throw in an extra couple pods or something. Who knows?
Right. Okay, let's get that out of here. Oh, it didn't really do anything. Interesting. Okay, you hit the X and nothing happened.
All it did was get rid of the X.
Yeah. There you go. Just get that X out of there.
Interesting.
All right, so then we're into the footer. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on this footer? I know I have, what I usually say. So
yeah. I mean, I always like to see the logo in the left-hand side, but at the top. So if I made it all the way down here, like I'm still in the same place, I didn't get away from it, or if I came from an ad and I went straight to the footer to try to find something specific, like, I don't know, return policy or refund policy, I know that I'm in the right place and I came to the right place. So I like to see that up top. And then I like to see all the contact information there, the trust trifecta that we've talked about before, physical address, email address, phone number, just all the different types of ways that I would call somebody if I drink one of these and get sick or something like that. Like how do I get help? Or it shows up melted and then it's like, okay, well, it's been in the mail. Can I still use it? Is it still going to be fresh? How do I get a replacement? Whatever. That's what I would want to see in this left-hand side. And then probably commercial links and then support links, which is like your shipping policy, refund policy, whatever a customer might need, company links. And on the right-hand side, I do the mailing list and social media if you want to put that in there. That's kind of the most discretionary side of things. So hopefully I'm remembering all those details correctly, John, but correct me if you feel differently in any way, but that's how I would do it.
Yeah, the only addition I have to, I think that's great. I would maybe move the mailing list over to the right-hand side if you didn't say that, but that'd probably be it. The only other thing I would say is under Get Started, they have Get Started. That's like defining a word by using the word.
Yeah.
It just really isn't effective or helpful. So if you really want people to get started, then make that first. Instead of focusing on our process or how to use stuff, those don't feel like ways to get started, right? So I would do that, or just say, leave off the header or make it more about purchasing, right? Like learn more. Something of that sort would be good instead of Get Started. And then I would definitely make Get Started the first item there to help people be able to drive into that process. And I realize, pretty sure there's probably some type of survey around what kind of coffee you like, right? So they ask you to complete the questionnaire, and then it kicks out what you should buy, which I think is a great journey. But you really do need to get people into that step, and I think that's hard to do here.
Yeah, I agree. And, it's making me think like Get Started is the primary CTA in a lot of these buttons. And that's not really as descriptive as we might like. Like, what am I starting? I think when we first hit the site earlier doing our little prep there, you were like, well, is this the one that like makes a custom blend for K-Cups based on your taste preferences or whatever, like what region you want to buy from? And then you started to think like, is this highly personalized? And maybe that's not the case here. It sounds like you can pick from maybe a dozen roasters. So is it really Get Started, or is it like build your perfect blend, or is it select your roaster? Like, what is the most descriptive next step? Like, where am I going to go? Because like Get Started kind of sounds like this is going to be a big involved process. And like, how long is this going to take me just to get some coffee if I want to try something new? So like, tell me very specifically, select your roaster, or start by selecting your roaster or something like that. And then I know, okay,
find
well,
your
that's
taste
what I'm gonna,
profile.
Right. Yeah.
Something like that. And also Get Started implies, okay, am I subscribing?
Right.
Or can I do a one-time purchase? You're right, though. It does seem like a huge barrier. And I think that's something that we missed until just now. Up above all the ones that say Get Started, I do think that really is a big barrier. It feels like, okay, I'm going to click this. I'm going to be here a while. Like, let me go make a cup of coffee and come back. And then I'm going to be like, well, do I really need this method? Because I just made myself a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So.
that is one of those things that if you're on your phone, like I've done this before, like I'll come back and do this on desktop when I can like pay more attention to it. So if something's fairly involved, like I'm filling out a form on my phone, it has a bunch of fields or it's a multi-step form, like I just email myself the link and say, do this tonight, right? And this might be that case where if you give me something like get started, that might be just enough of friction for me to come back later. And maybe I do, but maybe I never do. If you say like, start step 1 of 2 or something like that, then that would quantify how much involvement is required for me to get started, and I might actually do it there in the moment.
Great point. Yeah, it made me think my iPhone Chrome browser is full of tabs that I need to do something on my desktop, or I want it to remind me on my desktop. And do I ever get there? Rarely, right? So make it easy on mobile. Yeah, this is great, James. Great thought about bringing these guys in. I think there's a lot of improvement can be done here, but I think they're doing some cool things. I really do want to test it and as a product, and just because I also think this could be really cool and probably does taste great, but also at the same point, it may just be something that is a bit of an issue in terms of actually getting people to convert on the site who aren't these early adopters.
Right. Yeah, totally agree. Maybe get some for the office there. We'll hand it out to the team, and we'll get a consensus, and we can come back and say, is this hot or not? Right.
We've got some folks who were baristas in former lives and worked for some of the best well-known coffee brands. So it's a tough crowd on coffee here, but I would love to have it and see if it passes that muster. Then this is definitely a quality product, as we keep hearing about. So.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we'll wrap it up there, and we'll come back and do another one of these real soon. But as always, John, thank you so much for sharing your time and your expertise with us today, and look forward to doing another one real soon.